Ben Isaac.
And I'm Ford Ramsey.
And this is our podcast.
In this episode, we interviewed Tim Catlett about intersectionality and accessibility for technicians in theater. Catlett is the technical director for Paramount Center for the Arts in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a very busy time here around the Paramount, but I'm glad that I can take some time to answer some questions for you.
Yes, I really appreciate you talking to me.
No problem. So what can I help you with?
Well, my first question is, I saw that you've been at the Paramount Center for the Arts for almost a year now, is what I was seeing.
Well, I started in May, so I suppose technically it's only been about half a year. But I mean, I've been in the business for since I was a kid, really. As a technical director and as a production manager, I've been doing that for about 30 years now. I also am a certified teacher. I am certified for secondary education in Wisconsin and Colorado and Texas. I taught high school theater for 16 years. So.
Excellent. Well, that leads me into my first proper question.
Okay.
So, in the terms of the scenic design process, how have technological advancements like design platforms and maybe even AI, how have those things changed the actual design process for scenic design?
Well, I think you mentioned AI, so I'm going to just attack that question right away. I think there are a lot of designers who are likely using AI like as a pre-visualization type of tool, which actually makes a lot of sense. Leaving aside all of the environmental considerations that AI, presents to us, I think we'll probably be able to work ourselves around that a little bit. But then also, there are technological advancements that are not AI. There are design platforms that are cheaper. For instance, if you look at Vectorworks, which is a pretty standard design platform, even for scenic, it's very, very expensive if you are not a student. So that is a very frustrating barrier to participation if you want what is typically understood to be the industry standard, whatever that means. But truly, I mean, it is, if you work with professional designers out there in the world, that is the platform that they're utilizing, both for scenic design and for lighting design. And then also there are, very useful alternatives, Tinkercad and of course, AutoCAD and things like that. But software and software technology, I think, traditionally has been one of the really big barriers to participation for most design students, not least of which because you have to be trained to use most of them, whether that training happens like by virtue of you doing it yourself or you're going to take a class in it or something like that. And so learning that technology, in addition to learning the drafting programs and all of that, that technology can be a barrier to access as well because, let's face it, you have to actually learn what we do while you do it. You can sit in a classroom all you want, and until you're sitting right there doing it, you're not doing a lot of learning. So, because you've got to have your hands in it, you got to get dirty and all of that, right? So, so I think that's, I think those are the big ways that technology is affecting what we do. Certainly, like from a scenic standpoint, there is a lot of like construction technology, painting technology, materials, processes, things like that just constantly expand and get better and all of that,
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
My other big question concerns working remotely, especially like in a post-COVID world. That's become something that's very common. Is that something that we're seeing especially in like the design process? Is that a viable thing?
Yeah, I think, traditionally the design process for both scenic and lighting, props and costumes is a whole separate sort of world, because in props and costumes, that is very hands-on. But for scenic and for lighting, traditionally the process has been at the professional level, where they produce paper. Other artists are the ones who take whatever's on that paper and turn it into a real thing. Mm-hmm. That has become problematic. And the reason it's problematic is not because that's not a good idea. It is a good idea. The reason it's problematic is because there's not a lot of money. And we can argue a lot and have a lot of discussion about why there isn't a lot of money, right? But the truth is that when we talk to designers and artists and technicians and whoever, there isn't a lot of money being handed over. So remote, sure, we can do that. We can draw pretty pictures on a piece of paper and whatever. The frustrating part, though, is that lots of times designers are also being forced to be technicians on their own work.
Yes.
And that's not an altogether bad thing, but you do have to, as a designer, you have to develop the skills so that, especially earlier in your career, so that you can actually function that way. And you have to, hopefully, you have to pay attention enough that you're not going to get abused from a money perspective, money and time, right? So I think in an ideal circumstance, remote work is a great idea. It's probably not going to happen practically right now.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course. You take care.
Excellent. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
This has been Ben and Ford's podcast. Thank you to Ford, our host.
Thank you to Ben, our editor.
Thank you again to Tim Catlett for giving us a good interview.
And thank you for listening.